Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here.
They found no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and you rail against dark money.
Wait a second.
You work with dark money groups all the time, Senator Whitehouse.
What the hell did I just watch? Senator Sheldon Whitehouse spent almost 10 minutes trying to badger Attorney General Pam Bondi over some supposed $50,000 payment, and when he didn't get the answer he wanted, he started throwing a fit like a spoiled kid who lost his toy. Now, before I even get into this, let's call it what it is. This wasn't about getting the truth. This was about political theater. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered.
Can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan
I can see I'm not going to get a straight answer from you to a very simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ. They found no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and you rail against dark money.
Wait a second.
You work with dark money groups all the time, Senator Whitehouse.
Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee? Yeah,
Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation, Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How And when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at 0 of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that? Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question.
This is exactly how Democrats play the game. Mention Epstein, mention Trump, get the media headlines, and move on. But Bondi wasn't going to let that fly. She called him out for taking money from Reid Hoffman, yeah, the same billionaire who is literally connected to Epstein and has been funding anti-Trump groups for years. She said it straight. You're slandering Trump when you're the one taking money from Epstein's buddy. That's the kind of fire conservatives have been missing for years. Republicans used to take punches and stay quiet. Now, finally, people like Pam Bondi are pushing back, and it's beautiful to watch. Whitehouse kept trying to trap her with technical questions about sealed testimony and internal DOJ investigations. But here's the thing, she can't discuss those publicly. And he knows that. So, why ask the question? To make her look like she's hiding something. It's a cheap trick and again, pure optics. Bondi stayed calm, referred him to Director Patel, and refused to take the bait. That's professionalism. Kash Patel has been a thorn in the side of the left for years because he actually tells the truth about what's going on behind the curtain. The fact that Whitehouse keeps bringing his name up tells you everything. They fear what Patel knows. By the end, Whitehouse switched topics again. Now he's talking about threats to federal judges. And you know what? For once, Bondi handled it the perfect way. She said, "We take threats seriously. I'll meet with you and the marshals myself." Class, strength, leadership. Even after being attacked for 15 minutes straight, she closed the conversation with professionalism. That's what integrity looks like. Here's the bottom line, folks. This whole exchange shows exactly what's wrong with Washington. The left doesn't want justice. They want headlines. They don't want transparency. They want control. Senator Whitehouse could have spent that time asking real questions about border security, the fentanyl crisis, or the rising crime rates across America. But instead, he chose to chase conspiracy theories about a paper bag of cash and smear Trump's name again. Meanwhile, Pam Bondi stood tall, defending her office, defending the truth, and exposing the hypocrisy of the swamp creatures trying to tear this country apart. This is why so many Americans have stopped trusting the Democrats. Because every time they claim to be fighting corruption, they're really just protecting their own interests. So let me ask you, what do you think this was really about? Was Whitehouse trying to uncover corruption, or was he just trying to distract from his party's failures? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you're tired of the political double standards, tired of the media protecting Democrats and demonizing patriots, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe. Because here on this channel, we don't buy the DC narrative. We tell it like it is. America deserves better, and it starts with calling out the lies, standing with truth, and supporting those who still have a backbone like Pam Bondi. This is the Prodigy Unfiltered. Like, share, subscribe, and stay in the fight. God bless America.